Hey guys, today we're going to talk about the fastest way for you to get clarity, which I like to call foster the dog. So, life is full of decisions. What should you do next in your career? Should you start a relationship with that person or end one? Should you have kids? Should you start a business? Should you move to a new city? These are very important decisions in your life. And because they're so important, you understandably want to be very thoughtful about them. But here's where thoughtfulness can actually lead you astray. Imagine if you were trying to decide whether or not to get a dog. What do you think is the fastest and most effective way of making that decision? Pathway one: spend 6 months doing research, making pro con lists, looking at dog adoption websites, reading dog owner forums, asking everyone for advice, and ruminating on this question for hours and hours. Or pathway two: foster a dog for 1 month. I guarantee pathway two is faster and more effective in figuring out whether or not you want to get a dog. But so often, when it comes to big life questions, we default to pathway one. Not even because we're trying to avoid the question or procrastinate on taking action. We genuinely are trying to make progress. And pathway one feels so thoughtful and so productive. But that feeling is an illusion. All of that endless research and ruminating is not getting you any closer to clarity, to conviction, or to a solid decision. If you want to figure it out, you need to stop reading about the dog and you need to foster the dog. Don't work on the problem of how can I research this even better? What question have I not yet asked? What angle have I not considered? What exercise can I do? Who can I ask for advice? Your brain is going to be tempted to go in that direction. Pull it back and point it at this question instead. How can I foster the dog in this situation? It might take some creativity to figure out how to make that happen, but I'd rather have you spend your brain power on that than on another theoretical discussion. Let me give you some examples of how I've read about the dog versus fostered the dog in my own life. First, when it comes to writing, I spent 10 years trying to figure out what kind of writer I wanted to be. I read articles, I listened to podcasts, I signed up for courses, I analyzed the paths of other writers, I researched publishing, entertainment, journalism, and other writing-related industries. I asked for lots of advice and had many thoughtful, long conversations about what I was learning. And I never got to a clear answer until I fostered the dog. I started writing 2 pieces a week. No plan. I just had to write something and hit send. To keep myself accountable, I sent the pieces to a small group of friends via email. Within 6 weeks, I figured out what I wanted to do. Or here's another example. In January this year, I started thinking I might want to move from New Jersey back to New York City. I looked up lots of buildings and units. I researched various neighborhoods. I talked to my friends about my plans. I considered moving in with my sister, who already lived in New York. And I made a list of pros and cons about us living together and a list of all the preparation we would have to do if we did end up living together. I gave myself 5 to 6 months to come up with a final answer. And then my sister gets full credit for this one. She made me foster the dog. On Saturday, February 4th, she called me and she said, pack a suitcase and come to my apartment tomorrow. Let's just try living together for a month and see what happens. And so on Sunday, February 5th, packed my stuff, I called an Uber, and I showed up on her doorstep. And all of that preparation that I was sure we would have to do before we could move in together, turns out it was totally unnecessary, and we could just figure it out on the fly. When something is really important to you, thinking and planning and organizing and analyzing seem like the right answer. But the reality is, you will learn 100 times more, 100 times faster by doing rather than by thinking. And you don't need to leap blindly into the unknown or make a lifelong high-stakes commitment. You can find cheap, easy, low-stakes ways to foster the dog without locking yourself in or closing off other avenues. All you need to do is pull your brain away from that tempting question of how can I analyze this even better, and point your brain towards the more helpful question, how can I foster the dog? Now, once you understand this in theory, There are only two reasons you wouldn't get busy fostering dogs and figuring out how to build the life you want step by step. Reason number one, you don't have the time and bandwidth to think this through, come up with creative options, and execute on your experiments. Or reason number two, your fears and your emotional cobwebs block you from following through. Luckily, both of these have the same solution. You need to hire a coach. A weekly coaching call gives you the dedicated time, structure, and accountability to systematically make progress, even when your life is crazy. Because no matter what, you've got an hour a week set aside and an experienced brainstorming partner to help you come up with creative experiments and creative ways to execute them, even when you're busy. I've had plenty of clients tell me, well, I didn't want to tell you that I didn't do what I said I would do, so I found a way to get it done this week. And it is totally normal to hesitate and pull back when it's time to actually do the thing you've been thinking about for so long. You are not lazy. You are not uncommitted. The only thing that happened is a thought and a feeling came up in the moment and blocked you from taking action. And all you need to do is shine a light on your blocker thought and figure out whether you want to agree with it or change your perspective. Both of those are valid, by the way. I just want you to be deliberate about which one you're doing. And this is exactly what we do in coaching. No spinning your wheels for months at a time, wondering what you should do or why you can't execute. We break through the noise in a matter of weeks and get you moving in the direction you actually want to go. So let's get started today. Go to the link above and book a free coaching consult.